Well, it's that time of year again when I get a lot of lovely little flowers coming up in my garden, and because we've got a new garden this year, we're getting all sorts that I weren't expecting or didn't know would come up, because obviously it's a new garden. So what I want to do is dry these flowers. Now I'm going to dry some the traditional way, but I'm also going to have a go at seeing if I can dry some a lot quicker than I would normally. So within a few hours. Now I found that this silica gel crystals by Wise Dry, and this isn't sponsored by them in any way, are the best way to dry flowers without leaving any marks or anything like that on it. And it's like a very light silica sand. All I do is put a base down like that, and then I pop the flowers in that I want to dry. And I put them in a sealed tub to prevent any additional moisture getting into them. Once I've got some in there, I can then delicately, he says, look, delicately, that was me being delicate, fill these up so that they keep their shape, or try and keep their shape. Because if not, what happens is they'll dry in the shape that you've kind of left them in. Fill these up and around, then hopefully they will keep that shape a little bit more. Now you could do this by scooping it out individually, but obviously that would be too much work for me. So the silica itself supports the actual flower. Give that a bit of a shake. And then I'm also going to put on top of that some of these little tiny delicate roses that I can then use in projects throughout the year. And that way I don't have to keep buying expensive dried flowers. And this is really useful as well if someone's asked you to preserve their wedding bouquet or things like that. Now I know this system works, or this method works, and it works every single time, but it just takes a bit of time to do. So you have to leave them in there. I tend to leave them in there for about 7 to 10 days, normally heading towards the 10-day mark. What's important is when you're doing your roses that you make sure you get right into the inside of your roses with your silica sand or gel or whatever it is you're using to allow that real inside bit to dry out. And then give them a good covering, all the flowers. There we are. I'll give that a little shake, because that'll then help any of those bits where there's not quite filled with the silica sand for it to get in there. Come on, little spider, you don't want to be in there. Top it up a bit more so they're well covered, and then put a lid on it. Get the air out of that lid by giving it a bit of a burp. And then I'll write the date on there where I first put them in, and then I can look at, then I know how long they've been in and I don't forget. Because if I've got several of these pots going, I don't want to try and take them all out if they've only been in there 2 days. And then put that to one side, and I can check on that I'll probably check on it in about 7 to 10 days. And the second way I'm going to try is to see if I can get my tumbling curing machine here to dry them even quicker by laying them on here like this. Now, I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if it's just going to make them go brown. I don't know what it's going to do. Whether it's going to dry them out lovely, cause them to flop and go to nothing, or what. But unless we try, how do we know? I don't think the heat in this is going to be so much that it's going to cook them in any way. I just don't know. But unless I try it, I'm never going to know. So I've put them on that little plastic insert that I made, and I'm going to put them in there. And then the other one's going to lay around in the bottom on my silicone mat so that they don't try and stick to anything. And if this works, I think this is going to save me an awful lot of time. And there's a lot of different types of flowers in there. Some of them are a lot more fragile than others, but we'll see how it goes. I'm now going to put my door on that I made, turn it on, and let it do its thing. Now, there is vents at the back, so any moisture can get out of those vents at the back, and we will just see how it goes. This has been going now for 2 hours, so let's have a look at how we're getting on. The ones on here do seem to be drying quite well, although they have lost their shape. They certainly are feeling a lot drier. The little roses have curled up a little bit. Oh, it smells absolutely lovely. But the ones underneath are obviously too protected by this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring all these up and then put them in again for another 2 hours. And then what we can do is we can have a look at them and see if it's dried. And if it has dried these in 4 hours, which is amazing. I know they've gone a little bit flat. These ones haven't. the Bell ones have. I'm hoping they will hold their shape a little bit more in the silicon sand, but we will find out. So we'll just pop that on, turn it on, and then we'll leave it for 2 hours. Well, I got a bit carried away with this and ended up doing it for 4 hours rather than 2 or 3 hours. And I also broke a rose off when I went out into the garden, a large rose, so that's that one there. And I think it does crinkle things up a little bit, but it's dried them. I mean, they are crispy dry, far too dry to be perfectly honest, and they've come out quite pretty. So if I needed some flowers that I weren't too worried about them being slightly misshapen, then I'd be happy to use that. But certain flowers and the leaves come out really, really well. So I'll definitely be using that technique again. And literally it took 4 hours to get them to this crispy dry state. What I'll do is I'll leave the ones in the silicon sand for the rest of the week. So I'll give them 7 days and then we can do a comparison. So these have had a week now. So I'm ready to take this out. Now the best way to take it out is gently. That's all I would say. And I always pour it onto a tray because that way I can clear up my mess much easier. And these again are very paper dry, but they have kept all their shape. Oh, I think they look awesome. So that's all of them out of there. Now with the silica sand, you do get stuff sticking to the actual petal, but it's easy to remove. You just go over it with a little brush, a dry, soft brush, and that will get it off. Again, these are very, very delicate, but they have kept their shape awesome. Much better than they did in these ones. I mean, that's the same flower as that, and you really can see the difference. Although I do think that is still pretty. If you want to do some quick flowers just to pop into resin or things like that, then you could easily do it in this. But to be perfectly honest, I'd rather wait the extra days that you have to wait and do it in the silica sand. And this isn't sponsored by Silica Sand in any way, shape or form. It was just an experiment that I wanted to try. Let me know in the comments how you dry your flowers. I really would love to know. Or if you've got a speedy way to dry them. That I would also love to know as well. I'm sure this would press flowers really quickly, but then I use a microwave press for that. I'll link it in the description below because you can press flowers in about 40 seconds that way. But keeping them in the real shapes like this, I think you're better off going for the traditional way of doing them in the silica sand. Oh, I'm going to go out in the garden now, raid some more flowers of their pretty flowers, and dry some more. Boo that like button, hit that subscribe button, check out the video I've got coming up next on how to use the microwave press. I think you'll love that, but most of all, enjoy your crafting. Take care, bye.